Lawyers are selling all day, every day, whether it's selling to a jury to try to get a verdict, whether it's selling to employees to join the firm. You're selling all day long in different ways.
The wisest people that are in our industries are people that understand sales.
Our class is called Sales Mindset for Entrepreneurs. We're not teaching the typical sales stuff like, here's how you overcome objections and here's how you ask for the close and all that. Like, you can learn that stuff anywhere. And those foundational things are important for if you're going to be a quote unquote salesperson. But ours is all about the mindset of selling. How do you show up as your authentic self and not as the stereotypical salesperson?
We love what we do. Like we started teaching a class because we wished this class was taught when we were in college. Wow. Listen, you can't change your world or anybody else's world if you don't know how to move people.
Welcome to this episode of Bourbon of Proof, where we interview those who have been successful in both law and life, and we do so over several spirits, usually bourbon, usually whiskey. We have done some episodes with tequila or non-alcoholic, not our favorite episodes, right, Mauro?
Not our favorite. We like old-fashioned bourbon.
Yeah, and of course our esteemed co-host, again, Mauro Fiore Jr., coming from Hollywood, California.
Always here in good stead.
I feel like he just made that up. Is that like a John Wayne thing or something?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
With his Foo Fighter shirt on. But we're excited here today to have Colin Coggins on with Garrett Brown, who wrote The Unsold Mindset, who teach at USC. They teach entrepreneurial students, right, how to have that spirit, which a lot of lawyers all have. A lot of people don't know this, but Garrett and I went to law school together. So I'm going to do the first pour for Garrett.
Uh-oh.
I got you a Blade & Bow 22. You can only get this at the distillery. Wow. They only give one a day. Ooh. You can get one a day.
Was I with you there when you got it?
Me when I got it. Remember, I ran to the front because I knew this, and I had to go buy it as fast as I could because they get one a day.
Beautiful.
They give these little keys that probably unlock.
Was that at the Stitzweller in Louisville when we were there?
That's when they. I believe so. He fell asleep a few times. But this is a Blade & Bow 22, aged 22 years. But Garrett Brown, we've known each other for 22 years.
Wow.
We started law school together in 2002.
That's wild.
And now it's 2024. So this
you guys went to Pepperdine?
What? That's not even a Freudian slip. It's just something stupid. Here, pass that down.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like the symbolism there. 22 years, huh?
22 years. Can you believe that shit?
It's weird.
Do you know how old we were in 2002?
Children.
22. Well, you might. Were you older or you go right a lot?
No,
college?
I'm with you. We're the same age. Cheers.
Colin Garrett, thanks for coming on.
Cheers. See, I cheers this time.
Yeah, you remembered.
Anything 22 years is going to be smooth like that.
This is good. It's high proof too, so this is going to get you. So, one of the things that you guys, teach. Essentially kids. We were kids whenever we were 22. We were kids.
We're teaching kids that are as old as we were back then.
So what is it? So what is it? Because you were big. I actually, one of my second date I ever went on with my wife was at his parents' house playing flip cup up almost Ventura. Where do they live?
They live in Ventura.
Ventura.
Yeah.
We're playing flip cup in friggin' Ventura.
Yes.
And she was awesome. That's how I knew I would marry her. She dominated. She was
good.
2 cups at a time. But yeah, the second date was at his house.
At my parents' house.
Yep. Yeah. Many dates at your house when we were in Westwood, Brentwood together. But did you ever think, because you took the path, we'll start with you, Garrett, where you were never into real litigation. You went right out to being an entrepreneur lawyer, being in the startup, exiting, and now teaching.
Right. Yeah, I straight out of law school. I didn't go to law school to be a lawyer, first of all. I went because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grow up, and I thought that delaying for we took some law classes as a business student at USC when I was an undergrad. It seemed interesting. It seemed like a lot of the people that I looked up to at the time, I wanted to be in the sports industry at the time, and a lot of the agents and executives and sports teams had law degrees. So I was like, that's a good way to delay the real world for 3 years, figure out what the hell I want to be when I grow up. Let's go. And then I get there and I meet a bunch of people like you who are all type A assholes who are like really like go get them. And I'm like, if this guy can go get a job and get paid that kind of money in the summer, I could definitely go get a job and get paid that kind of money in the summer. So one thing leads to another, and I end up finding myself practicing law when we graduated. And I was doing corporate transactional law, and it sucked. I sucked at it, first of all. I just wasn't good at it because my heart wasn't in it. But for me, it was clear very early that was not the path. I am not, you know me, I'm not a contentious person, and you got to get a little bit contentious from time to time as an attorney. I didn't like
you're like one of the happy, smiley guys.
Yeah.
It's always happy, man, ever since I've known you.
I got
some stories.
Yeah, he might tell you otherwise, but we spend a lot of time together. But in general, you are correct. And I sucked at it. It wasn't for me. But one of the things that I realized as I was working for a kind of a mid-sized firm in Century City was that all of the partners who were doing the best financially, successfully, like kind of the ones that were worth looking up to, were the ones who knew how to sell themselves, not just in the courtroom, but the ones who were bringing in the new clients. And it was, I would go on these kind of meetings with them and I would see them, and it became very clear to me early on that what they were doing was selling. Like, hey, this is why you should come work with us. This is why we're the right lawyers for you, and so on. And I was representing startups, and it just looked a lot more fun on that side of the table for me. And so after about 3 years, I left and joined my first startup on the sales side. And it's been a crazy ride since.
But so did you work with the startup as their transactional lawyer?
No. I came in and got the easiest way, and we tell our students this all the time, one of the easiest ways to get a foot in the door in any industry, but especially a startup, is on the sales side, because all these companies were raising money. They need to now sell their product. I had a little bit of instinct there, and somebody saw something in me and hired me and gave me a shot at it.
So when you were in that sales position, you law degree, licensed lawyer, were you available 24/7, or were you just like there 9 to 5 and no weekends?
I was always a 24/7 guy, or especially early on. That was. I think that's what differentiated me. And by the way, let's be really clear. The fact that I had a background in law was a huge leg up for me in a startup, because when the guy who hired me left, and I had closed some deals, but more importantly, I had negotiated them myself, and I was drafting the contracts myself. Like, as a startup, that saves you a lot of money. Like that, I think that kind of distinguished me from a typical salesperson there, and those skills were what gave me the chance to ultimately lead sales at that organization, and then every organization I've been at since.
Yeah, with the right now, like Wismaro has a lot of employees too, and I think I don't know if you, like with your teaching right now with that generation, I have people that are in sales with some of our companies that if it's after 5 o'clock, they're not picking up in sales, and like they're all commission based, or like I couldn't send something on a federal holiday, even like to Slack somebody about something. I couldn't even send an email because it was offensive. It's like, well, you don't have to take care of it right now, but it's just like, this is a sale that you can literally call somebody.
But this is you're intruding on their time, Bob.
But
how these young fuckers roll.
I actually have. I do have.
But I want to know because you guys are in this right now, and you teach sales. We're all in sales. But like, how does that?
The few places I ever worked, if I had told my boss this is my time, I would have fucking been spitting my teeth out.
Yeah,
that
element of it is very different, and I have some thoughts on this. I see both sides of this. I think people, a lot of old guys like us will hard work is the way to go. And
it's still smart work.
Well, that's what I'm going to get at, which is I actually don't know that it's the hard work. It's the ability to figure shit out and get shit done. Yeah. And usually, newsflash, that requires hard work. So that's why I think people kind of conflate the two things, is like, it does sometimes take just digging in, being available 24 hours to get whatever the thing is that needs to get done. But if you can do it smart, then maybe you don't necessarily have to be available after 5 o'clock.
2 hours a day, even on your vacation, answer emails, get stuff done, especially if you're on commission based, and still be smart about it, right? But I'm a big believer in quality of life and balance and those other things.
Yeah.
But if you're going to own a company and you're going to do stuff that you have ownership interest in, you can't ever completely turn it off.
I agree.
Okay. But I want to know Colin, because the guy that's sitting in Indian style over here in the yoga booth.
It's called cross-legged.
This is
cross-legged?
This is my...
I never thought I'd meet somebody more chill than Garrett, but I feel like we're going to feel it.
you give me whiskey as an appetizer, you're going to get Chill Colin until you get the other version. But hopefully that.
You know what? You guys are the first guests. This is almost our 40th or 45th episode that drank before you came on.
There you go.
Can you believe that?
Says something about
Did
us.
drink outside?
Am I
They were drinking outside.
ashamed?
No, you
Nice.
should be proud of it. But it's weird because I was like, yes, we'll give you a pour tomorrow, and I've been drinking all day. But we're
Right.
like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Catching up.
yeah.
You were talking about the generation, and we have a really interesting perspective because we've seen the generational shift.
Yeah, we've taught our class for 6 years now.
12 semesters.
Yeah.
So like we have actually seen different generations respond differently to all sorts of circumstances. This generation you were talking about, sort of this sense of entitlement. I was going to ask you, do you love what you do? But it was rhetorical because I know you love what you do. And those are the people that pick up after 5 o'clock, right? So like we teach a class that teaches people how to find like the Sunday
What they love to do.
Right? Like Ray Lewis has that quote, like they pay me for what I do Monday to Saturday, but Sundays are free. So it's like hey,
He
how
also
do
had
you-
he also had that quote that I stabbed some guys in a bar and got
You're the first person.
He's a Steelers
You're the first
fan.
person to
Hold on. He's a Steelers
Steelers
guy.
fan.
So
It wasn't a stabbing. It was.
I should have
shooting.
warned you not to bring up Ray Lewis in
It
this
was it
conversation.
was a shooting, and he was just in the limo.
Look, I didn't even play for the Steelers. I
was
still have
just
nightmares
in
number 52 haunting me.
I don't even have. I don't have the background or the context. Not advocating for
By the way,
Ray
this
Lewis
is
or not.
fantastic. I'm now like the third aftertaste of this is really
So good.
Let me confirm.
confirm. I mean, the dark age of this, because I mean, aging something 22 years. That's
Yeah.
Patience.
patient.
I like PD. What'd you call
You
this?
like peaty?
Yeah.
It's not peaty.
What do you call it?
This is a straight bourbon. This is more of a corn based.
What's that? What's that? What do you call that?
Oh, that's your acid reflux. You can take pills.
Maybe we should trade seats
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I don't know what's coming over here.
Back to the generation. They are one thing that's really good about having an entitled generation is they feel entitled to get paid for what they love doing. There's many generations where what they're good at and what they love are two different things. I mean, Garrett and I started teaching because what we were getting paid for wasn't necessarily just what we loved doing. It just happened to be also what we were good at.
But I feel like both of you were teaching not out of need to teach, but
no,
you love to do it. I mean, you guys don't even need. You don't even need to get paid for it. You just love
it's
it.
well, we get paid, but just let's see, we get paid, but.
But it's like this. Don't you do this thing? Fight on.
Yeah, I will say that we love what we do. Like we started teaching a class because we wished this class was taught when we were in college.
Wow.
And there was just like we were in the enterprise, and there were all these new entrants into the workforce. They didn't know how to follow their dreams. They didn't know how to change their world. They couldn't change other people's world. They couldn't ask for raises. They couldn't communicate upwards or across. They didn't know how to move people. That was like their whole thing. Like they weren't taught how to move people. And when the concept came up, it was like yucky. And then that was the origin. It was like, listen, you can't change your world or anybody else's world if you don't know how to move people. And it's not yucky. And engineers need to understand that selling their ideas or somebody else's ideas isn't like a nasty, smarmy thing. That's like the origination of the
Do you guys
course.
teach? Because like one of the companies we have a stark difference between the engineering. We have a lot of engineers that are building product, and then the other side of things, which are community and the sales, right? And I feel like they're two completely different human bases that we're talking to. And I just found in the last 6 months, it's just fascinating to me. But
Well, our class is called Sales Mindset for Entrepreneurs. We're not teaching the typical sales stuff like, here's how you overcome objections and here's how you ask for the close and all that. Like you can learn that stuff anywhere. And those foundational things are important for if you're going to be a quote unquote salesperson. But ours is all about the mindset of selling. How do you show up as your authentic self and not as the stereotypical salesperson? And, we're talking to
I feel like all lawyers should be taking these classes.
When I think of sales, I think of Alec Baldwin and
Right, and that's the problem. And that's why we wrote our book, and that's why we teach our class.
That's what I think of
Let
sales.
me ask you a question. Who, like when you think of the word salesperson, like what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Oh, I know what comes to my mind.
First thing comes to mind, car salesman.
What were you going to say?
A guy in a briefcase and a suit and tie coming to your front door selling carpets or vacuums.
Exactly. Yucky, smarmy. Okay, now let's put that to the side.
That's of a salesman. I mean, that's what I think.
Right.
Second question. Who is the greatest salesperson you know?
Oh,
Donald Trump.
The salesperson you know. Who's the greatest salesperson?
he's a
you
good
know?
salesman.
That I know? Okay, yeah, I know some people that can sell.
Who? Who's the greatest salesperson you know?
My friend David Danishgar, he's a great
Good
salesman.
salesman.
You respect him?
Yeah,
Admire him?
Yeah.
Revere?
yeah.
Like, that's why we teach the class. There's this huge disconnect between who we think salespeople are and who the greatest salespeople on the planet. Like, we ask that question to tens of thousands of people. Top 2 answers are Martin Luther King Jr. and Steve Jobs. Yet everybody says yucky, smarmy, manipulative, pushy, and it's like, no. Like, the greatest salespeople on the planet are the antithesis of who you think they are. And they typically don't have sales in their title.
No.
And right? I think it's important to point out, I mean, we're talking to a bunch of lawyers here, ostensibly, that are listening to this and watching this. It's like, talk about 2 stereotyped professions. Salespeople and the stereotype that you're talking about, and lawyers and the stereotype that you all know about. But I would wager...
Bob's a great salesman, but I mean, he's a lawyer, so I don't really consider him a salesman.
I do think, like, but I'm conscious of it, because I had a discussion with these two when they were writing their book, and they asked me some questions. I'm actually proud to be in sales. I've been in sales since I was a kid, because that's what you had to do to survive.
And lawyers are selling all day, every day, whether it's selling to a jury to try to get a verdict, whether it's selling to employees to join the firm. You're selling all day long in different ways.
And like, we teach lawyers all the time, and they get too lost in like their mantra, what they're talking about. It's like, if you're selling to a jury, you have 12, 9 sometimes folks that is your audience, and you're selling them. Mm-hmm. You better find out what they like. Say you're going for like a pitch, right? Or you're going into you have to research those people as much as you can to close them, and that's all that matters. But people lose sight of that.
Your part in the book, in my opinion, one of the most magical parts in the book, because it's on the vulnerability concept of, like, why do certain people show pieces of themselves that most of us are trained to hide? And you gave this really good example, and we heard this example from everyone, like, at some point when we were interviewing them, that at one point or another, you end up talking to yourself out loud in front of people. And remember, you gave this story of, like, you were in the courtroom, the judge asked you to repeat yourself, you looked up at the ceiling, and you were like, what did I just say?
Yeah.
And you looked back at the judge, you looked at the jury, you were like, I have no idea. The jury erupts laughing. Like, that idea that people see themselves in you the minute they realize you're imperfect.
Yeah. But the important part of that story is that you weren't doing that as a tactic to manipulate the jury or the judge. You just felt comfortable enough being yourself in front of that room to go, oh shit, I don't remember what I was saying, and kind of fess to that. Because everybody in a courtroom is kind of a little nervous and uptight and not sure what's going on. And that just kind of relieves a pressure, because you were authentic enough to sell without selling, without using a tactic.
But people will root for folks that are like them, and you walk into a courtroom and they're like, this person's an uptight, stuffy.
Exactly.
You can break that mold. Now I do in jury selection because I'm conscious of it. Yeah. Find ways to make people laugh or be engaging or say stuff. It's a little different. But I remember that moment when I first did that, when the jury laughed. Now it was a litmus test for me now, and I'm like, oh, I got him.
Well, you should know we bring it up many keynotes throughout. I mean, we do a lot of keynotes every year, and we talk about you and that story as the example.
Ray Lewis, apparently.
You're both there.
Who else did you guys interview? You guys interviewed a lot of people.
I was going to say, the advice that you gave us was the same advice that Snoop Dogg gave us.
Really?
Like, what would you tell people is like the secret sauce of like being a great seller? And it had something to do with like being the best version of yourself.
He said, master doing you.
That's what Snoop said. They were like, hey, why does everyone keep saying you're a great salesperson? And he was like, master doing you, everything else will work itself out. And as weird as the
guy, he ran a 200 meter the other day for no reason. Did you see
horrible? It was an unattractive. I love Snoop. Snoop knows I
can't believe he ran that far as much as weed as he smokes.
Can I tell you, that's the imperfection you're talking about. Like, the sad truth is, people like people. People like buying from people.
We do another pour because I'm thirsty, Mark.
Yeah, I'm ready. Mm-hmm. People like
this was my second pour.
Motherfucker, that's been sitting on my shelf for like 6 years. You're drinking it all?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take another one.
We're doubling it up.
I'll do another one of these before we get to the wise man.
Oh, I thought you wanted
to. He says only one a day. That feels like.
I thought you wanted a little more of this.
I haven't known him for 22 years.
We have a long day, Mark, but you can heavy hand these guys.
I was saying that people like buying from people like themselves. And it is a sad truth, but it is the truth. The good news is that the common denominator between everyone is imperfection. So I do a lot of artificial intelligence things, and I talk about it. I say the one thing artificial intelligence cannot replicate is human imperfection, and that's what makes us beautiful things. It's what we see.
Exactly. It's a commonality.
In other people.
And
you don't like things that are perfect. You fucking hate things that are perfect.
You have a half black, half Jewish. I'm a half black, half white Jewish kid in LA. How do I catch a vibe with a 72-year-old woman in Utah who's Mormon? Like, I don't know what I have in common with her, but the minute that
You both are great kissers, obviously. This guy was talking earlier about he felt
when I was
engaged
to my fiance over 10 years ago, I would show up to meetings late because we would do wedding planning a lot. And I'd show up to meetings, work meetings, and I'd be like, hey, like, I'm really sorry that I was late. Like, I have this fiance. She's a really big wedding planner. We were talking about bougainvilleas and roses, and it doesn't matter. I'm just saying I'm sorry. And almost every time I would get someone on the other end of this meeting with like, Colin, don't worry about it. Like, it's going to be way easier on your second marriage.
Wait,
that's a quote.
Real quote.
Is your fiance in the story the 72-year-old woman from Utah?
No, it's completely different stories.
My imagery in my head was
this is just a story.
different women.
Okay.
This is a story about random people seeing themselves in me. I'm not losing a deal when someone's giving me their marital history in the first 20 seconds.
So because you guys are both smiley dudes. I'm a smiley guy. Do you think that translates? Because I feel like I'm attracted to folks that like are happy and smiling all the time. I trust that factor. Is that something? Because you guys study this. I just want to know. Is that one of the things?
It's an interesting question, and it's like what comes first, the commonality, or does that lead to the happiness? I don't know. I've never thought about that.
It's neuro-linguistic programming was a thing.
Neuro-linguistic.
It was a thing that salespeople probably still do, and it was a thing for a while. It was a trend. Like, if you cross your legs, I cross my legs. Mirror.
Which is the most bullshit. Like,
could we just write a book where we could show people the reason why people were leaning in was because they were actually engaged, and you didn't need to lean in because you were
like,
there's a lot of trial lawyers that sell a lot of bullshit, and one of this is these things.
Yeah.
You're the jurors and do this, and I think it's the fake.
So here's why it's fake.
I've heard a lot of this too.
Well, yeah, I mean, isn't not to say it's bullshit, but I think Rex Paris is into a lot of that. Like how he walks into the courtroom, or what kind of bag you carry.
Yeah.
You carry a alligator, Gucci bag, or going to bring in a JanSport backpack in front of the jury. And
I'm a backpack guy because it's more comfortable for me.
Yeah.
I have a couple of thoughts on this, but one of the things, like, we believe that the origin of this, like, let's just stick with mirroring for a second, because it sounds like lawyers are taught this as well. Probably at some point somebody studied some great conversation, some great trial lawyer who was in there, and they go, oh, that guy's leaning forward when the other person's leaning forward. So that must be what you do. Yeah. But the reality is that person was so engaged authentically in the conversation, in the thing that they were saying, in the thing that they were doing, that they were naturally leaning in. And there's science behind this, that, like, you do this naturally. So where we cringe a little bit on it is when people weaponize it and they're like, oh, how can you be having a good conversation? How can you be doing your best work in front of a jury if you're thinking about your legs crossed or what you're carrying?
Look, I'm engaged right now, and I'm sitting comfortably back with my legs crossed, and
right, but you're not doing that on purpose. You know what I mean? So, I think...
No, he's mirroring me. No, he's not. Look,
NLP.
Got him.
Right.
Got him.
But if you're thinking about it, you're obviously
That's
not.
the thing with the smile, right? You're like, does the smile work? It's like, if you're smiling if I'm smiling because I think you're going to smile, I'll smile it a mile away.
But the other thing I just want to point out is that a lot of selling, and I'm sure a lot of what people teach trial lawyers as well, is based in human psychology.
Yes.
And there is nothing wrong with leveraging human psychology when you genuinely believe that it's going to help the other person understand something that's best for them or legitimately good for your client. The problem that we have with it is when people weaponize it, and when they're like, oh, I'm going to manipulate because I do
absolute. So there's one.
No.
Have you ever used? There's one called Emotion Track, and they use artificial intelligence to see how people use facial mannerisms based off of like how a jury's responding.
Yeah.
So we will do like our opening or closing in front of a wide array of folks, and to see how their faces move and stuff. And there's like science or whatever they claim behind it, but I would say it's like a tool that we use, but it's not an absolute. Like, they said this word and they like this word, but I think it's more. Can we do the wise man or the what do we have here? Yeah, the wise man pour.
We have
talk about it.
Kentucky Straight Rye whiskey, another rye, but Bob likes rye, so he always brings.
But this one's a bourbon. That's a rye. This is a bourbon.
And this is called the Wise Man. So what is on here? There's a bunch of stuff on here, like a bunch of symbols.
Can't read.
Bunch of symbols.
Some things.
Bunch of symbols.
The irony of the four of us drinking a Wise Man whiskey is not lost on me.
But this is
a Kentucky owl.
There's a difference between intelligence and being wise, right? Intelligence is you can be book smart, you can be taught like quantum physics, but if you can't communicate it, if you're not wise in what you do, and I think the wisest people that are in our industries are people that understand sales, that understand how to talk to a human being, be vulnerable. So that's why I picked the wise man. And Colin or Garrett, one thing you told me, and we were sitting in we both had like apartments back in the day in West LA when we were trying to figure shit out. You said to me, said, you don't even know this is coming. Garrett says to me, you know what? You know how I know what I made in my life? I'm going to get a fucking forearm tattoo. And I'm going to be like, fuck you, everybody else. I have a forearm tattoo. I don't care what anybody else says.
I still say that.
Do you have a forearm tattoo right now? Because I didn't.
So I do not have a forearm tattoo.
Man.
This is sad.
I would have a forearm tattoo if I was passionate enough about something to put it on my forearm. But it was always like,
you remember it now.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, I've stuck with this through the years. Like I wanted it because this is where I play guitar, and I wanted people to be able to see.
We had the conversation. We brought the guitar.
Yeah.
We had this discussion.
No, I'm not there, but I have re-picked up the guitar just in the last few months. So maybe the forearm tattoo is coming one of these days.
Just like to be clear, he said he wasn't passionate about something. Now, I have an unsold mindset tattoo.
He does.
So I would just like to be clear.
That's the name of our book, by the way, The Unsold
Mindset. You said you didn't have something you were passionate about, yet I have an unsold mindset tattoo. So,
I mean, you could have a...
That's a world exclusive, by the way. He never tells anybody, but he does have a...
I do.
Do you have it on the inside bicep?
I do.
That's a very sensitive part of your body to have a tattoo.
No one sees it unless you go to Pilates with me.
Well, I mean, Garrett has this. You still have the tattoo in the small of your back, or?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
I can
absolutely.
confirm.
The bullseye?
No, no. It actually says Pepperdine
with wings.
With the waves.
No.
I actually have waves in one of my.
Still no tattoos, but someday.
One of these days you'll be passionate about something.
Something.
This Kentucky Owl is pretty good. It's fairly spicy, very spicy. Yeah, it's like very spicy.
Oh, this is fantastic. But I'm a rye guy. So
this one's definitely should be second after that one.
Yeah. This is like, smooth age. This has a bite to it. So you want I like spice. So I like.
This is going to put hair on my chest. Waiting 44 years, but I might get my first one.
I can confirm that too.
But now 6 years, 12 semesters you've seen at USC, and these are some gifted kids that are coming through here.
Great
right?
kids.
And this is one I wish they taught us this in law school. I've never taken a business class. I wish we had an entrepreneurial class. Because we just figured shit out. Like when we started our firm, we're just like,
it's either figure it out or starve to death. So it's one or the other. So I figured it out.
We almost starved to death many times.
Yeah.
But what are some advice you can give lawyers if they're looking to want to be better business folks, or if they want to have better coaches? Because a lot of them are searching for this knowledge all the time. Like, what can they be doing?
You start by acknowledging that the greatest salespeople on the planet are not the most articulate. They're not the most gregarious. They're not the most extroverted. They're not the most self-confident. But they are the most self-aware people in the room. Like, they know they said some shit, it didn't land. They get to course correct real time because they're aware of it. Like, they can talk to someone, realize that person does not think that they're listening. They think they're waiting to speak. They're able to course correct. Like, you get this sense of optimism from some of these people. They're not naive. Like, they just talk to people as if they don't need something from them. Because how would you treat someone if they were already your client? So there's it's a very interesting dynamic when you're trying to teach someone how to be bad at sales, because nobody wants some great salesperson in front of them, right? They want a great human in front of them.
I like that.
I've never took a business class or anything. I read one sales book in my life. It's called The Culture Code. You ever read this book?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a pretty amazing book about how sales and how the ones that they talk about in there are like the I think it's the Maxwell House or the Folgers coffee commercial that was on TV. That the whole thing was about smelling the coffee and how that has an effect on people, things like that. And it's interesting, but it's kind of like a psychological book on how the salespeople that came up with these. There's 4 or 5 big campaigns. One of them's like the Michelin tires, where it says so much is riding on your tires, and they have the kid inside the tire. That is supposed to be one that really hit with people because it makes people think of their family, right? And you see a kid sitting on top of a tire, really hits hard home. So it talked about these big campaigns that hit hard home with people. And it just turns to me, just seemed like psychology.
Yeah,
There was
well,
this one movie, sorry to cut you off,
No,
it
no
had
worries.
Dudley Moore in it, and he ended up in the psychiatric ward. Do you ever seen this movie?
dude, it sounds so familiar.
But it'll start to jog a memory. So
Yeah.
he was an ad guy, and he went crazy. They put him in a psych ward, so they started outsourcing all the ads to him in the psych ward, and all the people in the crazy home were coming up with like the ads that were the best ads ever. And like I'll never forget, there was one ad, they were doing one for like this movie, and it was called The Freak. And it was just like, The Freak. It'll fuck you up for life. And it was amazing. And they were like cheering, but the crazy people came out with the best fucking titles ever. But
Well, first of all, you're
I'll
going to
remember
read
what it's called.
You're going to read a second sales book real soon, The Unsold Mindset. Really good book.
Okay.
I highly recommend it. But no, I think as you were saying that, it reminded me of something that we talk about often, which is that the students who come into our class, the companies that bring us in to do keynotes, and the audience is there, like, they bring us in sometimes thinking that they're getting professional development content. They think they're going to learn how to sell and learn tactics. By the time they leave, they realize that it's really personal development. Like it's not about how do I learn XYZ formula for selling. It's about how do I get myself in the mindset so that I'm showing up as the best version of myself, so that I am excited to talk to this person and learn about what their problem is, so that I am excited to ask them questions that they've never been asked before, so that I am, how do I show up as the version of me that's like, ooh, I cannot wait to talk to you, as opposed to, call number 30 today. I got to pick up the phone and make this call. Like, there's a real different tone and a real different result in the conversation depending on which mindset you go into that call for.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Even like the questions that salespeople ask. They say great salespeople are remembered for the questions they ask, not the statements that they make. But that's not because they ask leading questions. That's because they care about answers that most people don't. So it's like, what's the advice you give to like great salespeople? Like, why would you want to know the answer to questions that most people don't? Well, you have a unique perspective, right? You have a unique curiosity. People love curious people. But you would never attach curiosity to an adjective of a salesperson, except they are. So, like, imagine asking him a question that he's never heard before. He'll ideate for the first time in real time on that answer. No matter what that answer is, that's his answer. He owns it. Like, he has a sense of agency. Like, we extract value when we ask questions. Show me, give me, tell me.
So
you literally ask.
So here's the question we're going to end in this series of questions, and these are the oddball questions, right? So, Colin, I'm going to ask you first. Sell me your favorite cereal without saying what it is. Now, yours is going to be different. So don't even think.
Darn, because I am a hardcore Golden Grams are the best cereal of all time guy.
God,
and
I think
will
it's so
fight
soggy.
You.
I
I will
do like
fight you
that.
to the death because that is the only correct answer.
With the cinnamon and sugar on them, right?
No, dude, just straight up Golden Grams with whole milk.
What's cinnamon sugar? I know what you're.
So you don't want me to get. You don't want to guess it. You just want me to.
No,
sell
we
it.
want to guess it. You can't say what it is, but we have to try to guess what you're.
Okay, so I'm not selling you one. I'm just giving you examples so you can
Correct.
guess
Or you could sell whatever it is, man.
Sell it.
it. Okay, well, if I wasn't selling it, but I just wanted you to guess it.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
I would just go, great.
Frosted Flakes.
There you go.
There you go. That's your favorite?
That's a horrible answer.
But the reality is,
I'm looking at you in a whole new way now.
You did eat
acai bowl guy. You know what I mean? Like, obviously.
Oh, wait, you're telling me the cross-legged guy eats acai bowls? Next, you're going to tell me the guy wearing a Foo Fighter shirt.
And he
likes
wears a
tigers.
Kenzo tiger hat.
This is human made, but close.
Wait, what is this?
Human made.
What is that?
It's in the family. This is a Pharrell brand. It's a Japanese brand, and he said Kenzo, which is a Japanese brand, and I love that you thought that and you know that.
It looks like the Kenzo tiger to me.
Yeah, it's human made, but the same, Nigel.
How do you know this stuff? He just knows stupid shit. I can see
Swaggy.
it now that I see.
Yeah.
We're derailed. This is becoming the worst episode you've ever.
You ask someone who doesn't eat
here.
cereal to sell cereal. I mean, yeah, I just hit you with a tiger gur.
Now let's ask Garrett.
Oh,
to,
God. I'm going to pass anyway.
Sell the hair product.
No. I want you to. This was probably 2000. Sell Lauren, his wife, on him in the year 2000.
I did sell her.
I know. That's why I want to hear what your closing pitch was, because she's way out of your league.
Yes.
We don't know. So
Yeah, she's.
we were in
special.
law school, and she came to campus one day. We're like, what?
Yeah.
So how did you do it?
So how did I do it? Well, that's a long time ago, so I honestly don't remember. She did have a boyfriend at the time when we first started chatting.
Was it Matt Leinart?
No, it wasn't Matt Leinart.
What
I did know
was?
his girlfriend at the time. His girlfriend at the time was great too.
Same place. They were at the same time.
No, I was more Carson Palmer here.
Oh, really?
But how did I sell her? We were in a class together. We did a group project together. And somehow I found a way to schedule a group project meeting at a time when the other two group members just couldn't quite make it.
There you go.
One-on-one conversation. Probably asked some impactful questions without realizing they were impactful questions. And here we are 24 years later. We'll be married 18 years next month.
Wow.
And still doing our thing.
18 years. That's a high.
Still a
18 years,
firefly.
2 kids. Yeah.
2 kids.
But I feel like everybody that's on this episode are all salesmen, all salespersons. We all were above our pay grade for our spouses, especially. I mean, have you seen Marlo's wife? I mean, this guy can hardly even get up.
Tell us more.
What can I say, man? I'm a handsome man.
He also pretended to. Were you Israeli when you?
No, I pretended I was Persian.
You pretended he was Persian.
Yeah, because
That was his sale. He
she's
knew
Latina.
she liked Persian, so
she's Latina, so I know that the Latinas in LA like Persian, so I told her her name was Reza. It worked.
What happened when she found out your real name?
She wasn't happy about it.
How long did that take to recover from?
Like a month.
Okay. That's
No,
pretty quick.
I pretended I was Reza for a month.
Yeah.
Reza Ajiji,
of course.
Is that a Persian last name?
Muslim Persian.
Oh.
I was from Orange County.
Because
So much going on. See, like he must have done a deep dive into her to like.
Well, I have
Stop
revealed on this show my Jewish Persian name is Moshe Cohn.
you know,
That's when I'm a Jewish Persian. When I'm Muslim, I'm Reza Ajiji from Newport Beach.
and when we're in the when you're playing the casinos in Eastern Europe, what's your
Oh, my name is Ratz Melbourne.
Rats Melbourne?
Ratz Melbourne is
We
my
need
name.
some aliases.
Yeah,
we don't have aliases.
No, you don't.
Me and Bob are
The only
going
one
to.
I know that has
Me and Bob are going
travel,
to
and
Spain.
he's like, yeah, he
we're
gets
going to
kicked out
Spain
of
tomorrow,
places.
and I'm going to be Ratz Melbourne the whole time.
It's like alter ego effect, though. He
And
walks
it's
into the
Ratz-
casino and he's like
it's
a
Ratz
guy.
with 2 R's. 2 R's at the beginning. Ratz Melbourne.
At the beginning, 2
Right.
hours at the beginning. They're on a roll. All right, so Garrett and Colin, we've had several. Well, you guys had 2 pours of one of the other. So, and you had one offset. But what is your? We ask everybody at the end, what's your bourbon of proof? What's the one that spoke to you, the spirit that you liked, the ones that you had, and why?
I thought the Blade and Bow was delicious, dangerously so, like really smooth, and you could easily have 3 or 4 of those and not realize what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
That was a delight, and thank you for and the 22 symbolism was special too. So thank you for thinking of that.
My birthday is the
22?
22nd as well.
You are the 22nd?
There we go.
Mauro just turned 50 a couple
May
weeks ago.
22nd.
Mazel tov.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
You don't look a day over 49 and a half.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, it's all the clean living.
Yes, sir.
Colin, how about you, my friend?
Same. That's
Really,
22
yeah.
is perfect.
That was good. The double symbolism. And also, we were in the same fantasy league for a long time. And
I took a lot of your money over
Took
those
a lot of
years.
my money.
Well,
I still have the most
my
championships
partner
to this day.
at the time, Greg Altman, shout out to Greg. He probably took
I was in a
most of your
fantasy league with Bob, football.
he actually got
fantasy,
kicked
and
out with some similar people. He
Well,
got kicked
you know,
out of
it's
leagues.
just that they weren't.
Alex LaFazia knows Marfiore. He kicked him out of a league.
I
that
was just
true?
a little bit too controversial for the league. You know?
Okay, I understand.
Guys just, they didn't really get my humor.
Which alias were you
I
playing?
was tomorrow, but let's just say at the end of the league when I left, I wished several people I wished them that they would get cancer.
That's pretty
On
rough.
that note, I've won 4 fantasy football championships.
Yes. I told one guy, I
get
hope
away
you
from
get
Right. If any of his friends are listening, he had to throw that in.
Yeah, I just really.
No, he actually he
didn't mean
he
it.
did wish them cancer.
Okay.
But you didn't mean it.
No, I didn't mean
Right.
Right.
That's why I wanted to say that.
Some people
and
took
they
it very
took my
seriously.
team, and it was a legacy team where you keep your players.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave my team to some asshole, and he's won like 4 championships because I drafted Christian McCaffrey.
It's true. He won again this year.
Yeah, so they took my team, gave it to someone else, and that guy's won a bunch of titles. Meanwhile, they kicked me out after 1 season.
Well, it was because you wished people cancer.
Yeah.
Not a good thing to do.
Not
Well,
good.
you know, I wish I could say I regret it.
But you did say you didn't mean it. He won't say that either.
I might not.
Look, he proposed a trade to somebody that was wholly unfair, and things went off the rails. Like it was embarrassing for you, but he was not happy about it. So, Garrett and Colin, thank you for coming to this episode of Bourbon of Proof. If you want to reach out to these guys, look up The Unsold Mindset. It's an Amazon bestseller. I have at least 2 copies.
Amazon bestseller. Hold on. It is a Wall Street Journal bestseller.
But I buy it on Amazon. I don't even.
Also an Amazon bestseller, but it is also a Wall Street.
But you can't buy shit off Wall Street. You just go to Amazon and buy it.
No, but that's a little. Have a little respect. You know,
Bob,
we wrote a best-selling book, dude.
It's in a different echelon here.
Yeah.
What it means is that a lot of people didn't
Amazon
buy it.
bestsellers, like you know.
I could make. We could. If everybody in this room bought our book, we would be an Amazon bestseller.
We respect
That works.
all Amazon bestsellers. We think that it's an amazing feat.
But
But we
Is
also,
that how it's measured? I don't even know.
Wall Street Journal bestseller is a big deal.
the Wall Street Journal bestseller takes all bookstores across.
Well, I didn't mean to offend you guys.
We're not. We're not
fuck you
offended.
guys.
We're not offended. I'm just teasing. Anyway, it's both kinds of bestseller, and thank you for saying so.
Thank you. Yes. Well, cheers to the end of the episode. It's
Salud.
nice seeing you, man.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Can't read tomorrow.
And I hope that none of you get cancer.
The feeling is mutual, Mauro. Thank you.
Now that he's in your heart.
Cancer.